Oh, gosh. Okay, we gotta get under control. We just watched that video. Oh, the guards video while we were switching. Okay. Oh, so funny. Oh, okay, so anyway, the death of the LAN party. Get
Yes, our
into
main
this
event.
episode. Oh yeah, and welcome to anyone who skipped the news and review section. There's some pretty funny stuff, especially in the gaming reviews. Oh, man, yeah, you guys should go listen to that. I was laughing. Anyway, but if you're just not joining us, welcome. We're gonna be talking about the death of the LAN party because we had we went out to your house, right? And half of
Yeah.
that was, or more than half of that was LAN party.
Great deal of it was LAN party.
Yeah, and then we played some tabletop RPGs, but yeah, a lot of it was LAN party, which is interesting. You know, this, I guess it's an old concept, right? Back before the internet, people just, the best way you could play together is to like pick up your consoles, or LAN is really about computers. So you pick up your computers and hook them all together and kind of hang out, and there's usually drinking and snacks, and it's a great time.
Yeah, and part of it, even after the internet came out, part of the reason for the LAN party was to have a local network with no lag, so you could play your Quakes and your big arena shooters without any kind of reliance on how fast your dial-up modem is.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, no lag. So the qualities that made it awesome were proximity, right? So you got your people right there. You can all
You can see their
high
reactions
fives.
when something happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite memories is my very first LAN party, or my first few that were in college. And one in particular, I made up the name. Like, my name is always, my gaming tag has almost always been Solo. For a while, it was Suck My Balls, but it was spelled T-S-U-K-M-E-I-B-O-L-S. Since then, JT has taken that moniker. But at one of the LAN parties, they did that because I like hearing people say it. They're like, "Hey, can I get some help from Suck My Balls?" And I'm like,
You give me both.
Sure. Yeah. And so people would have to figure out these names. Another one I had was not Suck My Balls. It was
Mr.
there's something
Apples,
like that.
Apples.
Yeah, and then, well, I came up with that because I my regular gamer tag was Solo, and people would be like, "Fuck this Solo guy," because there's like 30 people at this party, right? And we don't know, a lot of them, we don't know each other. So and I'd be like, "Oh, that's me." And then so finally I was like, I want to get something that's like hilarious when they get mad at it. So I made up the name Mr. Apples Bajapples because I thought it was fucking hilarious. We were playing Counter-Strike, and I shot someone with a no scope, or no, I shot him with scope, AWP, and they're like, "God!" He slams his. I mean, one of his nerd rages was bad. He slammed his desk, stood up, and he goes, "God damn it, Mr. Apples, Bajapples!" And then everyone just started laughing. So like, ever since then, that was like my sub name, and Solo.
Who is this Mr. Apples Bajapples?
God damn it! Like, oh, that nerd rager, man, it was so great. And you just can't rage at those people because the names are hilarious.
Yeah,
So,
it just makes it more hilarious when you're mad.
yeah, so you get to see each other's reactions, like you were saying, for sure. Usually if you're friends, and then if you celebrate victory, you get to celebrate it together, which is nice. You know?
Right.
You also have no latency, which is nice, so there's no lag, which was a lot worse back in the day with dial-up modem, right? Like, it was just the worst.
Yeah.
And then, what else?
Like, for those of you too young to know dial-up modem, this is, imagine like Skrillex just all the time, every time you try and turn on a computer. Just and
man.
that's what we got to listen to.
I remember I was I couldn't fall asleep. It was like a Saturday, and I was like, oh, I'll go log on the computer, and like I don't even remember what, I think chat rooms were the thing to do, but I turned it on, and all of a sudden the thing starts screaming. It's like, where? And my mom's like, get on the computer. I was like, dang it. Now, like, yeah, you have to deal with that.
Yeah. Remember back when you have to pay for the internet by like minute?
Yes, yeah. And unlimited internet was like a thing, you know. It's like unlimited hours for the cell phone.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, what?
Unlimited internet? Well, people just do it all day then. Yeah.
and we did.
And we do, yeah. But yeah, pretty hilarious. But another advantage is that, you know, well, it's a party, so you get to be stupid and have a lot of fun, and you also get to hang out when you're not doing it. Like between matches, you get to like interact and stuff. But yeah, so we did that. We all put our computers together, and now with laptops, it's almost like even that's like less ceremonious. Like setting up your computer was like a whole deal at a LAN party.
Yeah, part of the LAN party was like carrying in all the massive, like the computer tower and your gigantic TV screen monitor that was before flat screen, so they were super fat on every angle.
Oh yeah. Do you remember Edge, the monitor?
Yes.
Oh, I had a monitor that was so big that I got from my brother-in-law. He just gave it to me because he upgraded. And it was like 24 inches or something, which back then that was huge. Now it's nothing, but and it was so heavy. Like, God, how much did that weigh? Like
So
75
much.
pounds or something?
Yeah.
It was ridiculously heavy. Like walking up and down the stairs with it would tire you. It was insane. And you sit on the table, and this table would be like kind of buckle. That's awesome. But you set that up. You set up your tower. You usually set up like where you're gonna put your snacks and drinks. Like it's a whole
Yeah.
ceremony.
And there was like no place to sleep, so you just stayed up all night playing games on a
Hmm.
crappy fold-out chair for like 10 hours straight, just eating like junk food and playing like crappy 90s games. Like that was the whole experience.
Yeah, and these would take places in like sometimes in like churches and sometimes in like um,
Basements.
yeah, basements. What else we do? People's apartments a lot of the times, which I'm sure their landlords would have kicked their asses if they would have known. But or school, we did it in a couple school buildings. Like if you can just get those. What else? But it was fun. Like it's really fun. So many wires back then. Jesus, nothing was wireless. Nothing. So like everything had wires just everywhere, and like power strips. If you didn't bring that, you were screwed. And there's always some idiot who forgot his what's that little cable that goes from your desktop, your CPU tower down to the that black one in the back that goes down and plugs it in,
Yeah.
kind of three-pronged one or whatever. People always forgot those because there's one for your monitor and one for the thing, and they'd only get one.
Mm.
So anyway, you would unplug this thing. Yeah, man, it was crazy. It got to the point where there was like little clips you could put around your tower, and it was called like a LAN buddy or something, and so you could just walk around with it. Yeah, less of this process. So it was like a whole ceremony. And while you're doing that, you're like talking to people, getting excited, eating
Yeah.
snacks, usually drinking some beer.
Watching
So
videos on YouTube and like all these inside jokes would pop up from whatever funny thing you guys watched at LAN party.
yeah, and at ours, like once we grew up, I don't remember if you were at this. I think you were. We started doing this tradition of kind of like pranking each other, which I think that happens a lot. But this one, what I did is I took a picture of Bobby's desktop, like I took a snapshot at it, and then what I did was I made it his background. So like all of his icons and his mouse and everything, that was his background, but you can't interact with it. And then I hid his toolbar, which back then no one knew what that was. Like now everyone knows that you can hide your toolbar, but so you get more viewing screen. But I hid his toolbar so he didn't know what to do, like how to interact with it. And then I put it on the top too, so like he wouldn't just scroll down and it pop up. And then so the next day he's like what? And he's trying to get it to go and it won't happen, And then he's like I've restarted my computer like 4 times, guys. I think I gotta go. It's fucked. And like or change the background to like a dick butt drawing or something, just anything.
Yeah.
But these are all LAN party traditions of ours.
But nowadays, we just try to do a LAN party, and things weren't quite the same.
No, yeah, it felt different. It's weird.
A part of it is they don't have LAN games anymore, like local area network options on games. Like you have to be online now to play pretty much everything, even one-player games. You have to be online constantly. So there's
Yeah.
not that element of it anymore. But it was more than just that.
Yeah. We had it. So first of all, you get like there was only 5. Like we played like a 5-player game or something, and fortunately there was only 5 of us. But like that kind of limited. I mean, at LAN parties we used to do like 32 people games. Like Battlefield, that old Battlefield 1942, that kind of thing. But now like. Yeah, we kind of limit ourselves. We're like, well, we only really want 5 people. If we get 6 people, then we can only play so many games, and yeah, it's just that was kind of interesting. I thought.
Yeah,
One day.
and just finding a game that everyone could play, finding a game that everybody had that was multiplayer that everybody wanted to play. Like it just seemed like it was a lot harder than it used to be. It's almost like we have too many choices now.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was the problem because back then what we'd do is beforehand we'd put out what you need to bring and then what you need to have installed, and then we'd always say get an antivirus because people would to get a file, like you pretty much had to do it illegally, right? Like if you wanted someone else to play, because like let's say 3 people had the game but 2 or 3 people didn't, or at a big LAN party like 20 people had the game but like 10 didn't that were coming in. You'd have to have an illegal copy basically there for you, and just to install. And then the idea was that you don't install at the LAN party, and I don't think most people did, but you have to. Or you're supposed to. And so it was like or antivirus too, but now it's like you've got everything on your computer. There's like Steam, and there's also like Uplay Uplay from Ubisoft, like Origin from EA. Like it's all there. Like you've got it, and you can download it on another computer if you need to. So that was like one thing of it. Like that kind of made it different. Yeah, and also the fact that like we pretty much just doing what we normally do, but
Yeah.
next to each other.
Yeah, I think part of the reason the LAN party is falling out of favor is because it's become so easy to play online games through just the normal internet now. Like it's just not a necessity anymore. It used to be such a treat to play these games together, but now it's just like every weekend we play Heroes of the Storm, and now we're all playing Heroes of the Storm, but we're in the same room this time. Slightly
Yeah,
better.
yeah, exactly. I think another thing too that really is a game changer is Google Hangout. Like Skype, a lot of people use, but I think Google Hangout or video Skype, I guess, are the two things that really change it for me. I've got two monitors, so usually when we play a game like Borderlands 2 or something, we got a Google Hangout going, and I'll just put it on the left monitor so that I can see everyone's face and hear their voices, and we're all playing together. It's basically like being right next to them. It's crazy. Like whenever we won like a big heroes match, for example, we come back and we beat them. I'd be like yes, and then you can look over and see your friends, doing the same thing. So it really does feel like you're sharing a space more than it did before.
Right, and then the sacrifices of having to get to a LAN party have gotten greater now that we've aged. Like when we're all in college, it's pretty easy for us to all go to someone's dorm and set up, or someone's apartment and set up. But now that we all live in different states, some of us are married, some of us have kids. It's just all these real life obligations pile on. You can't just take a weekend off and just stay in someone's basement eat nachos for 72 hours.
Yeah. Those were great because LAN parties were like sacred spaces. So like the wives weren't really allowed except between matches, and then like on Saturdays and Sundays, and because all of our LAN party people were guys, we never had any girls come. I think that's pretty standard for back then. Now, I mean, I think it's a little more diverse, but yeah, my wife would come down with like snacks. She'd have like a bean dip or something occasionally because she's awesome. And she'd be like, "Here you go, guys," and like the girls would be up. I mean, they're having a blast too. They're like doing their own thing, but. Like the basement was ours, so
yeah. But you usually have to set something up, right? Like you'd have to make some kind of arrangement, like okay, we get this LAN party, and then next weekend you and your girls get to go out and do something, and I'll watch the kids. Like there was always some kind of sacrifice to be paid before the LAN party, which made us value the LAN party more because the price of admission was high.
That's a good point.
Now we don't have to pay that price of admission. Like if you want to play Here's a Storm and you're just sitting around and the kids are doing something, like it doesn't take the whole 72 hours to get that set up. We can just do it in 20-minute chunks.
Yeah.
And so like without that price, I think I don't know, it seems to cheapen the LAN party a little bit because we no longer need it.
It did, but even though we paid like a lot of money to fly out there, it just wasn't the same. Like I don't know. Like I still think like Brian's old basement. Like now he's got like a that's where we used to hold our LAN parties. Like once to twice a year, we'd have these huge LAN parties for like a 3-day weekend. But and we buy just all the booze, all the booze. And there's this rolling table, the rolling marble table. You remember that thing?
Yeah.
And had booze on the bottom and the beer on the top, and we just go to town. Oh man, we had a great time. But now he filled it in with a movie room. So like, I don't know. Maybe it's just an ending of our era, but I don't think so. Yeah, I actually take the opposite stance. I think there's still value to be had in a LAN party, and I think they're still really fun. But I think you're more on the side that maybe they're gone.
I think they're on their way out. Yeah, I think some people do it just out of nostalgia, but I think it's become so easy to play with your friends online that the necessity of LAN parties kind of died out. And yeah, you can still do them because they're fun, but doing something because it's fun and it's the only way to play computer games with my friends, like one of those things is going to happen a lot, and the other one's going to be like, okay, yeah, I guess it's kind of fun, but is it worth all the extra effort it takes to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people are going to say no. Like, I mean, yeah, it's slightly more fun to all be in the same room drinking and having fun, but for the price of admission, it's just not good enough because I can have a slightly less fun experience just through Google Hangout, and it's free.
Yeah. I think the only difference is, okay, so one of the best part of LAN parties, like between matches, right? What do we do? Like, let's say we just finished like we used to play Defense of the Ancients. Remember that? Like now it's Dota, or it was Dota, but now it's nothing like.
It used to be a Warcraft 3 mod, yeah.
Yeah, it's basically kind of like League of Legends, but we play that, and then when we get up, like let's say like we just played 3 games, we won really well, then like what usually happens in that little interim? Someone's like, I gotta go pee, and everyone's like, oh yeah, me too, and then there's usually something that happens. Let's see if you're thinking the same thing I am. Like, what's your remembrance of that?
No, everyone drinks, watches something funny on YouTube.
Yeah, like there's this communal moment afterwards, and then a lot of times we talk about the games, right? Like, oh hey, when you were doing that, I was doing this, okay?
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. But now, like every game has replays, first of all, so like that's kind of like, it's I don't know.
It's a moot point, yeah.
Yeah, and also there's we do that on Hangouts anyway, because somebody be like, I gotta pee, yeah, me too. And while you're waiting for that person to get back, you're like, oh man, that last game when you pulled that hook or whatever,
Yeah,
it still happens. So like that was one of my favorite parts about LAN parties was in between games.
yeah, we can just do it through teleconferencing now. And
Yeah.
even like the communal things between, like it seems like now there's just so many other things competing for attention. Like if we're not all actively playing the same game, which was Heroes of the Storm last time, then it was like, oh, somebody's blogging, somebody's on Facebook, somebody's playing League of Legends with somebody else. Like it's just there's less of that communal spirit and more just like, all right, well, if I'm not being entertained, I'm gonna do my own thing for a while. Let me know when something fun's happening. Like I'll be playing
Yeah.
Spider-Man on my phone or something. Like we'll all just find our own things to do, and it's just like, well, at that point, we could just do this from our homes using Google Hangouts.
Yeah, this is definitely to your point, like something that signals that it's dying because like back then there was no like Facebook or anything. There was very little things to do on the internet, right? Like you had
Yeah.
MySpace, I think, but no one checked that shit. And then like back then there's nothing competing for your attention. So everyone's always willing to play a game even if it wasn't their favorite game, right? Because they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I mean we're playing something." But now like, like maybe it was me or maybe it was JT or someone is like, or Brian or whoever would be I'm just I'm gonna set this one out or whatever, and I'm just gonna entertain myself on the internet because there's endless possibilities of awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Like when the internet comes in the equation, it's like suddenly we're competing with all the other things in the world you could be doing right now besides Heroes of the Storm, whatever your game of choice is.
yeah, and marathon gaming is awesome, but it has diminishing returns to the end, to the point of like at 2 p.m. or something. You may, after playing hundreds of games, you might be like, yeah, I'm gonna take a little break, and then you find something that catches your interest on the internet, and then you just stay there. And so I think that's we ended up saying we realized at the end we'd have to make a schedule, like because to make it work because we had to have a consensus, right? Because you want to have as many people playing as you can. So
Right.
we want all 5 of us playing. And it has to be unanimous decision, which before was easy because there's no competing thing. It's like, well, you can literally just
Right.
sit there and watch
And
us play.
there were only like 4 games anyway, right? It was like
Yeah.
we can all play Counter Strike, or we can all play StarCraft, or we can all play Warcraft 3. There were like
Yeah.
or Star Wars Battlefront. Those were like the 4 options. So it's pretty
Yeah.
easy to get like a consensus.
Yeah, exactly. And you knew what you were getting into when you came there. There are 4 options, and that's what you're going to be doing. But now it's like, and so a unanimous decision was easy. It came by default. Like it wasn't even hard. Like you just get a small majority of people saying we want to do this, and then everyone else realizes that they're going to do that, or they're going to sit there and do
Right.
nothing or watch. There's literally nothing to do. People go out and smoke sometimes, or they drink a beer and watch. But like that sucks watching because eventually you're like, oh man, I want in on this game. So unanimity was easy, but like now it's not. Like somebody's like, we could play Sentinels of the Multiverse, but it doesn't quite make me as happy as like surfing Facebook for a minute and that kind of thing. Surfing Facebook, looking at Facebook, surfing, I don't really surf it. Anyway, or I'll go look at Reddit or something, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I waste so
watch-
much time.com.
Yeah, it's.
And I think
it's
part of it
crazy.
goes back to, remember when we were talking about like sacred space and like this kind of liminal area where you've got like this one area devoted to something, and that kind of lends it meaning because we've set aside space for it, like a physicality to it.
Yeah.
I can't remember what episode that was, but that kind of comes into play at LAN parties too. I think if we have like an area for card games and board games and RPGs, and one area for computers, and then like physically moving us from one area to the other, not bringing our computers with us when we go to the new place, just have a computer table, have a gaming table. I think that would help too a lot of like kind of putting us more on the same page for what we're doing. Because a
Definitely.
lot of it was like, hey, you want to play Sentinels? Yeah, I kind of do, but not worth putting my computer away, clearing the table.
Yeah. That's a really good point because I think that should definitely work from a psychological point of view as well. Because I mean, we talked about I think last episode where you take mice and you give them heroin, and you slowly up their dose, they build a tolerance. But then you move them to a different cage, give them the same amount, and they die because
Right.
there's no there's a lot of like micro kind of actions that's happening like in your brain and physiologically in the rest of your body. Whenever you enter a space, like a certain space, like for example, if I sat in a Humvee again, I'd probably get a little sweaty, right? Like it's pretty, like because I'm like, oh, I remember this, and it's involuntary, right? To the point where it takes training to get out of it. But like, or if we went into the old church gym, like the old Mormon church gym, I used to play basketball there, and that was my basketball place. It was weird if anything else happened in there.
Yeah.
So I totally agree. I think think if we did that, like a corner where you can't bring your computer because this is the D&D place and this is the D&D cards or something,
Yeah.
I think it would be a lot better. Because getting people to move their laptops was difficult.
Yeah, just getting people to like fold them and put them under a table was like pulling teeth.
It was because they're doing something and that's work, and I'm here to have fun. It was crazy, and I felt the pull too. I'm not saying that other people that I like had it figured out and that I was trying to get other people to do it. I had the same thing. I was like, I'd rather just sit here for a minute, and that minute would turn into like an hour or two.
Yeah, it's just so easy to lose time now. I think that's part of the reason too on a bigger level why I've got so many shows I want to watch and so many games I want to finish, and I just never end up doing them because I could do that, but also I've got my phone here and I can play Spider-Man and I'll lose track of time, and then 2 hours later, it's time to go to bed. So I think the death of the LAN party is symptomatic of just how many easy ways we have of distracting ourselves now. Like it's almost not worth it to us to put forth the extra effort to have a really good. It's like I could go to McDonald's and get like I could satisfy my hunger pretty cheaply and pretty quickly, or I could go home and be completely blown away by cooking ribs out on the barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
And like the barbecue, I'm gonna be way happier with. But for all the work I put into it, maybe I'll just go to McDonald's and just take care of the hunger. And I won't be as satisfied, but it took me 5 minutes and $5 instead of $20 in an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. That's a really good analogy. That's what it feels like at a LAN party because it's like, I'll just do this for a second because we gotta all get into it and get ready, and I don't know, like it's a commitment too. Like it's a commitment to play a game all together, and I don't know, like that was interesting. But I think to my point, if because I kind of think there's still a space for them, I just can't figure it out yet. But I guess that would be how to do it. Like if we're gonna do it, we gotta have the space, right? Like or not just we, but people need to have different spaces for things. That's how. This is going to be one of my counterpoints to you. I was going to be like, well, what about this? Because in Sweden, in Stockholm, they have something called I don't know if you've ever heard of this. It's called DreamHack. Okay, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records. It makes the Guinness Book every single year to the point now where they just come out. It's a formality. They get the head count and they put it in the new book. The largest LAN party in the world. And they have different areas for things. So they like have StarCraft tournaments there, League of Legends tournaments there, all the big esports. And they'll have different areas for them. And then you've got your LAN party area where you can go and set up your rig, and play. So you have to physically get up and go somewhere else. But when you sit down, it's time to play, I bet. I bet there's, I don't know, man, there's too much that can confound this. But I was going to say, I bet they have more play time. But, of course, you're at the biggest LAN party in the world. I mean, there's a lot more to lose, I think.
Yeah. No, I think having separate physical spaces for different things, and also like we talked about, maybe scheduling things. Which I know it's like I'm not like a big scheduling person. I don't even know what I'm going to be doing like 2 days from now. Like I'm not one of those people who plans out his vacations day by day and here's what we're going to see and blah blah blah. Like when I went to Tokyo, I just had my girlfriend. Like I was like, just tell me everything you want to see, and then here's a map of the subways. Help me plan a route, because this is not my thing. I'm not a planner.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for a successful LAN party, because so much time is lost in them, well, what do you guys want to do now? I don't know. Then everyone just drifts away doing their own thing, or we all just, through inertia, keep doing what we were doing before, even though we're kind of sick of it. Like I think we can cut into that by having like a convention. Like Gen Con will have like 4-hour slots throughout the day of things that you're doing, and you can sign up for them, right? So it'd be like, 4-hour chunk of however long. I don't know, maybe 4 hours would be too long, but whatever your hourly chunk of, like let's say like 2 hours of Here's the Storm. That's what, like 10 matches.
Mm-hmm. Like 5 matches, yeah.
Yeah, they average like 20 minutes.
Oh yes, yeah.
So then
matches.
So then you have however many hours of that, then 4 hours of Jeremiah's 4th edition D&D game, and then like an hour for lunch, and then an hour to go running, and then 4 hours of whatever other game you want to play, and then maybe 4 hours of someone else running a Star Wars game, and just have them like chart out ahead of time. Never everyone sign up, like don't just dictator it, but say like, all right, here's what I'm proposing. If somebody wants to do something, like make sure we schedule it in, like we can put it someplace, like everyone agree to it, and then we don't have so much time wasted of like, well, what do you guys want to do now? You can just look at the schedule, like, hey, we're up for some more, and it's flexible. Let's say you get tired of Here's a Storm after an hour and a half, and you want to do League of Legends or something. You could switch it out on the fly, but at least then we'd have some kind of framework, and there'd be less downtime.
Mm-hmm. I think that's definitely gonna happen. For our listeners, I don't think we ever mentioned this. We did something kind of funny where we did a LAN party one time, but then I was like, wait, I want to see if we can get sponsors. We'll call it a convention. So we called it, and it was in Arkansas. We called it Arcon, which is also fun. And what I did then is I had people. I started emailing all the companies, like everyone, Nvidia, people who made potions. I emailed Balls, the energy drink that used to be real popular at LAN parties like 10 years ago or so. Emailed like all these different people and said, hey, I've got this convention. I'm organizing it. I'm the senior. What do I call myself? Senior
Events planner or something.
event planner, something like that. Yeah. And I'll have to go look at the emails. And I was like, hey, my name is Jeremiah Bean from what I call like sensational marketing or something like that. I can't remember what I called it. And we're putting together Archon. What do you guys do for can we get some promotional items? And they always ask how many people, and then I'd exaggerate, but I didn't exaggerate a lot because I didn't want to be dishonest. I was just like, well, I don't want to say like 10 people, which I think it was. So I said something like, I don't know, upwards of, and I counted everyone in the house, included the kids and people that might stop by. So I was like, upwards of like 30-something people. No, not 30-something. I said, I said quite a lot. It's not your large-scale convention, but it's a smaller scale one, and we're getting our feet under us. So we ended up getting a lot of free things. It was pretty fun. But on that one, we were organized as shit. We had a spreadsheet, remember?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, and then like we could sign up for slots.
And we were doing that convention model.
Yeah. So the problem is we didn't schedule in gaming. We left it blank and we said when we're not doing like RPGs or watching a movie or whatever it is we plugged in there, we'll just be gaming, which I don't think will work. I think we'll need to schedule games.
Yeah, which games we're playing.
Yeah. So it'll have to be a little more strict, but.
Well, and on that note, the other problem with LAN parties modern times is finding a game everybody wants to play, and it goes back to that being spoiled by choice, right? Like we all like Heroes of the Storm, but it's only 5 players at once, so that's kind of limits us there. We can't have more than 5 people there unless we get 10 and do custom games.
Mm-hmm.
But on top of that, there was like, what other games besides Heroes of the Storm does everybody want to play? Like you came out with a big list, but nobody seemed excited about like anything else on your list but Heroes of the Storm. Like no one was like, hey, can we play StarCraft? Didn't that come up?
Yeah.
So it's just like a matter of like finding a game that everyone's stoked enough about to want to devote the time to. And it seems like that's like the perennial difficulty.
Gosh, and part of it is this too. Back then, multiplayer, like you could play Quake, like Arena, for example. You could play that online, but most people didn't, right? Like the internet wasn't real fast. Online gaming wasn't a huge thing. Quake was just something you played multiplayer if you had friends around, right? Mm-hmm. Unless you were like hardcore. There was elitists back then that would play on the internet all the time, but a lot of people just play in like a group setting. So we were all kind of equals at that point because there's not a lot of time to practice.
Yeah.
But now we're widely different. Like David's amazing at Smash Brothers, and I'm awful at it, but I'm really good at Heroes. And like Brian had never played it. But, I think he played like 3-4 times or something.
Yeah, he was pretty new. So it's like finding a game where we're all the same skill level too is really hard now because we've all kind of specialized, whereas before we didn't get a chance to.
Yeah, it was really. I think that may be part of it is the fact that you can because I was like natural selection too, which at one point I was like a god at. I played with like semi-pro people and stuff, and like people knew me. It was like a whole deal, but and some people don't even have that game. And so if we were playing a game and we got on opposite teams, it'd be horrible.
Yeah.
It would be like when we played Smash Brothers, it just wrecked us. So yeah, I think that's part of it too. Is like the whole practicing thing you can do.
I think in order to make a LAN party work in our situation now, I'm just brainstorming, but I think we'd have to kind of go away from the competitive stuff and look for things that were more co-op-y, like things that we were all like working together to accomplish a goal, because those were games we were always have fun with. Like when we were playing those custom Warcraft maps that were like Final Fantasy, remember where there was like a job system? Like those were really fun, I remember, because we were all working together. It didn't matter if you sucked because you're all on the same team. And then people are more apt to play like for example, a game like StarCraft, right? Like if we get on there and like Tim's like not very good at StarCraft 2 anymore, like I haven't played StarCraft 2 in years, like he's going to have less fun playing against you because you're just going to stomp him because you were really competitive in that game. But if we were all in a game that was like StarCraft and we were fighting some kind like a Sentinels kind of style where it's like an asymmetrical like 5-on-1 kind of game where we're all just like teaming up against this ultimate evil, I think those kind of games are going to get people no matter how skilled they are because they're going to feel like they're having fun with their friends. It's when competitive games get like everyone's egos on the line and like then you have to worry about like, oh, is this fair? Okay, well Jeremiah's on this team so David has to be on the other team to balance it out, like that kind of stuff. stuff, like that makes it less fun, I think.
I don't know. I don't. Okay, so to survive in competitive gaming, at least I did. I changed the way I approach it because like otherwise I took defeats way too much, and I think that's the problem with League of Legends is it's a team game where when you lose you get this anxiety that pops up, right? And anxiety just means like an uncomfortable feeling that is prompting you to do something, right? So like you get a bad feeling, you're like oh god damn it, oh like you die, and then because it's tied to a behavior that's evolutionarily that's what it's supposed to do. A bad feeling is supposed to make you do something. You want to do something, you feel motivated, so a lot of people look at their screen, they try to start blaming other people, and because they don't want to say the other team's better than them, right? Because then that means that you're not as good as the other team. That's self-deprecating. So instead they look at their teammates and say, oh, that's got to be it, I'm amazing, that person's got to be the reason why, and they shit on them. So League of Legends is the weirdest thing where people shit on their own team. Like, I played Natural Selection too, and some other games do this, but particularly League of Legends and MOBAs, they turn inward and they never say the other team's good. I've never heard, other than us, like me and you, say the other team is good, and that causes you to start hating your own team. And then, which is fine in like online, I guess, go be a dick, whatever. But when you're at a LAN party, like there were some tense moments. There was a moment where I had to turn around. I was like, dude, I am like competitive level because like I play with a semi-pro team, or I did a few up till about a month ago, and one of those guys got drafted by evil geniuses. So like, I was right up there with the top, and so I had to turn around, and I didn't flaunt that, I didn't say that, but I finally had to here. I was like, dude, I am almost pro level at this game. You can't tell me that we're losing because of me when I'm probably the best one here. And I hate saying that because then you feel like a dickhead, but that's how crazy it is, and like how you can
and that's how powerful we're all that is. On the same team. Like now double that when we're like if we're playing a game like StarCraft where we're all fighting each other.
But here's what's cool about StarCraft. I have developed this attitude in StarCraft is rather than hate myself after every loss, I started like you get to where you kind of like use almost a mindfulness and you just kind of like purge the bad thing and let it pass, and then you stop feeling bad when you lose. Like like when we're losing, I am almost always one that's like, hey guys, we don't need to get toxic. Let's just learn what we can from this loss. The other team's really good, and I try to compliment the other team. Rather than like point out any one fail, because like, well, this guy didn't do so well. I'm like, yeah, he's not doing great, but that other team has one of those too. Look, that guy kept jumping 1-on-5 on us. So they're probably just better. So let's take this opportunity from a better opponent to learn. Like StarCraft forces that, and because it's 1-on-1.
Yeah,
no one to blame.
I'm always pointing that stuff out too. Like, if the other team does something awesome, like, geez, these guys are good. Do you see him just body block my triple shot? That was amazing. That's some next level play. Or when they'll just like this one. I remember this one Stitches like jumped out of the bushes. I didn't know he was there. I was like about to finish off like Zagara. She's running away, and I'm like, pew, pew, and then that third shot's gonna kill her, and Stitches comes out of the bushes, boom, catches it, and then like meets me and then devours me, and like totally kills me. And I'm like, dude, that Stitches is really good. And everyone's like kind of salty at that point because we're losing, but I'm like, wow, this is a good team we're playing. I always like pointing things out like that.
And that dispassionate approach allows you to do something that I think is really good, and allows you to analyze. Like whenever you get upset, it actually inhibits blood flow to your frontal lobes, which is your reasoning ability in your prefrontal cortex area. It actually, it's your reptilian brain that gets like more blood flow and more activity, which that's fight, flight, freeze kind of thing, right? And so you get aggressive. And if you're feeling mad, this is what I say in marital therapy too. I give that example and I say, all right, so what does that mean then? If you're feeling upset, what can't you be doing? And they're like, oh, thinking about it objectively. And I'm like, okay, what does objective thinking give you? The right answer. Exactly. So you can't get the right answer except by dumb luck, and it's probably not because you're angry, so you're probably going to be looking to blame. If you're angry, take a minute and walk the fuck away until you can learn to purge that with mindfulness, which we'll learn later.
Right, so but even taking saltiness away from it, I still think it's got to be more co-op than competitive because, like you pointed out, we're all at different skill levels in every game. And yeah, you could be like, okay, you're losing in StarCraft, but what are you learning from this? Are you getting to be a better player? And yeah, you could take that approach, but it's still going to take several more LAN parties before you're going to be a good enough player to compete. So you're going to be spending that 2 days just getting shit on over and over again and like slowly getting better. But fun games aren't the ones where you're getting shit on. Fun games are the ones where everyone's near that same skill level. which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
why I think most competitive games kind of get ruled out now because we're just so diversified in our skill sets that we don't have like a game where we're all really good at it and we can have interesting games.
Yeah, and we did even try to preface that by being like, "Here's what we're going to play." And I was thinking, like, if it was me at least, maybe it's because I'm competitive, but I would I would get that game and I would start practicing, so that I'm not being shit on and I'm also being a good teammate and when we're playing on the same team.
Right, but even
Um,
now, like if we gave like let's say we gave Tim like a 2 month notice, we're gonna play StarCraft 2. Like he's not gonna get to your level in 2 months of playing StarCraft 2. He's just not. Like you have thousands of hours invested in StarCraft 2.
because that practice opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah, it's the same with me. Like if I was like, all right, Jeremiah, you're coming over in a month. I want you to be as good at Smash Brothers as I am at that point. And I
yeah,
mailed you a copy of the game, and I was like, play as much free time as you have. Like, you don't have enough free time to get to where I'm at because I've just put so many more hours into it. There's no catching up. So it's
yeah,
just there's like really no way to fix it at that point. Like all I can see, like Here's the Storm worked because we're all on the same team, but even that got a little salty because we're at different skill levels, and it's like, whoa, that was a bad initiation. Who did that? Like there's still that impulse, but it was better than if we'd all been fighting each other.
yeah, yeah. That's true. I don't know. It's a big problem. I think it could be helped, but you're right. I don't think it is repairable or reparable. I think reparable. Anyway, yeah, because irreparable. Yeah, I think it's irreparable because you've. I think it could help if you did that. I kind of disagree that it still wouldn't be fun if you, like, if let's say it's you and I on StarCraft 2, we're the best, and then we plugged it in with like almost like a team captain thing, and yeah, they're gonna be shitty people, but it'll even out. I think it still can be fun, but it won't have the longevity. You'll get like 3 games out of it, and if you're the guy at the bottom that's getting shit on,
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna be like, yeah, I got some cool sneaky plays where I backdoored that the guy who's really good. Like let's say Tim or something. He's not great at StarCraft 2. Let's say he backdoored and he's on the opposing team. He backdoored me while I was fighting you, and he killed my base. Like, that's going to be exhilarating for him, but he still lost badly probably whenever it came
Yeah.
down to the line. So I think you're right that even after like 4 or 5 games, you'd be like, yeah, I did some fun stuff, but I'm still losing the match bad.
Yeah. But
So
I'm still not playing at the same level everyone else is playing at this game. And
yeah, because
even if we did the team captains thing, like you're better at StarCraft 2 than I am now because I quit the game a lot farther ago than you did. Like I played it in grad school and then I stopped playing. So like it's just impossible to even make even teams to begin with.
yeah.
It'd be like, all right, so Smash Brothers, David versus everyone else. Like that's kind of how we'd have to make an even game, and that wouldn't be fun either. Because again, it goes back to what we are talking about on our other podcast about the underdog scenario. Like if I win, then I'm the best person ever, and you guys feel extra shitty. And if I lose, I'm like, yeah, it was 4-on-1. So what were you expecting? Like there's no way to make an even game out of it.
Yeah.
Like even like we found a short workaround where we gave like with the auto handicap system, where every time I'd win, I'd get a bigger handicap. But even then, you knew that when you guys beat me, it was because I had a 50% damage reduction and 50% more damage than shit. Like it still wasn't as fun as it could have been if we'd all been at the same skill level.
Yeah. I like the handicap system though. That's good because like that could make StarCraft 2 fun. Like if I put mine way down, put my handicap way up, and then everyone else kind of was
Did they
extra
have
buff.
handicaps on StarCraft 2?
I don't think so. They did in Warcraft if I remember right.
That would have been a good fix, or at least a close fix. I really think now it's got to be games where, like D&D, where we're all just having fun together and working together, or Here's the Storm, where we're working together and we're fighting other people.
Well, that's what's so shitty. Think about that, okay? Now AAA titles, they're required to have a multiplayer. From my understanding, from reading articles and stuff, like if you have a financial backing, they require you to have it. Like look at The Last of Us, for example. They have a multiplayer. It's fucking awful, but they had to do it. They said we were meeting requirements. It's not supposed to be fun, basically, when they were apologizing for it. And I was like, wow, like. So that pool is getting smaller then if we're not going to be playing a game with a competitive component, I don't know. It feels like that's a small, like online multiplayer games are getting more and more popular,
Yeah. But a lot of the ones with multiplayer modes are co-op, right? Like Assassin's Creed Unity is just a bunch of assassins doing the same mission. It's fun because you're helping each other out. Like, and if you're the shitty assassin, it's okay. Someone can help you. Like, you can still find co-op multiplayer games. Borderlands 2, like Left 4 Dead. And even Left 4 Dead, like when you get to the 4v4s, like zombies versus survivors, which is the most fun mode, obviously. Like you get to be a zombie and hunt your friends.
Yeah.
Even that one, there's going to be such a variance in skill that people are going to get frustrated if they're not the top players.
Well, in those games too, even when you're playing bots, like it's like Here's the Storm bots. I don't have any fun playing cooperative. I really don't. I think it's shit because we shit all over the opponents, right? And same
Yeah,
thing in like in or if they're hard, it's like a weird hard. It's like StarCraft where they show up at your door at like five
yeah,
minutes with a
like
thousand
an
things, and you're like,
uncanny hard where you're like, are they cheating?
yeah. And people actually looked it up. Insane AI for StarCraft. People have an idea that they gain money faster and things like that. So
Mm.
it's unfair, and it doesn't feel fun when you get beat, and it doesn't feel fun when you beat them. Like the real fun for any multiplayer game, I think, comes from killing other people, and being killed. That's part of it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's weird.
So, which again leads to the problem of what do you play at the LAN party? Even if you can get everyone to sign up for the opportunity cost of, whether it's $50 of gas or $200 for a plane ticket, and finding time away from your spouse and away from your kids, and then you're probably gonna have to pay that back, eventually when the spouse wants to do something. There's all these factors of pay that go into making the LAN party happen, and then there's not even any games we all want to play when we get there. I think the LAN party's dying for those
Like,
reasons. Because it's not just us that have those prices to pay and those problems, I bet.
yeah, I don't know, man. I think it's like music. It was a massive industry when we were selling like CDs and tapes and vinyl records and stuff like that. And then now, once the internet came, the MP3 destroyed it all. But
Mm.
then they found a way to innovate so they can make money off it again. That's nowhere near the empire it used to be, where it
Yeah.
was like
They'll never be
really
making the numbers they used to make. And you see that in the music
yeah,
videos. Like the production value is no longer this grandiose thing. They just don't
yeah,
have
yeah.
the budgets anymore.
Yeah, and now it moved to YouTube. So like it's their views on YouTube, and they play an advertisement before it.
Mm.
Um, and so that's how they make their money off videos. So I wonder if it's that or if it's going to be like the tape cassette, which when the CD came out, I was like, oh, tapes will never, CDs would be cool, but tapes you can throw in the back of your truck and or whatever, and they slide around and you just pop them and they still work. They're so resilient.
Mm.
But I was completely wrong. Like I wonder if they're dying off or if there's some huge innovation that's going to happen.
I think
You
this
know?
is the innovation. I think the virtual LAN party is the innovation. I think that's the MP3 of the industry, is everyone getting on Google Hangouts and playing whatever game they want to play, because then you don't have to worry about getting everyone in one spot, and you don't have to worry about like, oh well, Bob doesn't want to play this game. It's like, okay, cool, we just want to add him to the call. We'll just have the three of us play a game. You don't have to when you're planning your games out in like 20-minute chunks, it's less is on the line that everybody's invested, right? Like if you guys are playing Here's the Storm and I have to go do something, I'm like, all right, I gotta go, and I'll come back like in an hour, and you guys will still be playing, and I'll jump back in. There's no spatial issues. There's no like, oh, but I drove all the way out here for this LAN party. I'm kind of stuck here, kind of thing. I think that's what it is. It's
Mhm.
just Google Hangouts is the new LAN party.
Huh? Yeah, that's an encouraging way to look at it. LAN parties aren't dying; they're stronger than ever
They've
because they
evolved.
evolved.
Yes. They're more
Okay.
streamlined. They're able to handle the problems that we couldn't handle in physical space anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't have to pay the high cost of admission that the old LAN parties used to have, whether that be gas or commitments or babysitting or whatever you had to pay. Like all of us had to pay something to be at that LAN party, and for each person the price was different. But to be at a Google Hangouts, all we have to pay is 10 minutes or 20 minutes or however long the game's going to be.
Yeah, and it's already built into your life. Like, I usually have a set gaming time I play. It's at night after the kids go to bed, or if I'm not putting them to bed, we split days. If I'm not putting them to bed, then whenever Amy's putting to bed, I'll do it. And I've worked that into my life already, so that when I wake up, I get all my work done as much as I can, and if I have to cut into my gaming time, I do. But it's a pretty sacred space right now. So if my friends are there, I'm having a LAN party, and if they aren't, I'm playing something anyway. So like, it doesn't take any more commitment than I already have in my life, right?
Right. And there's no
So
wasted time.
yeah, exactly. So like, I don't have to work some special thing on my wife. Like before, with LAN parties, you remember, like my wife was wonderful. She'd bring us food and like drinks, and everything was great. She was just the sweetest. But I knew that I needed to make that up to her too. So
Yeah.
then I would let her go to a retreat or whatever. But now, yeah, there's no price to pay. I guess it really is like online gaming with Google Hangouts
Yeah,
or
I
Skype.
think okay, here's the best 90s metaphor I can make. Remember the end of the Jurassic Park movie when they're like, "Oh, and then the dinosaurs went extinct because they were so large and cumbersome," and then the whatever character's like, "No, they're not extinct." And he points up and there's these birds flying by. It's like they've just evolved. Like they're the birds now. The Google gaming is the birds of the dinosaur LAN party. Like it's still
That
with
is
us, just
awesome.
in a more sleek aerodynamic form.
Beautiful fashion. Huh. Okay, well, all right. So I guess we're kind of both right. The LAN party of yesteryear did die, or is dying at least. But
we have birds now.
But I'm right in that, in my stance or my hopefulness, I wasn't right. I wasn't predicting. I was hoping that it wasn't going to die. So I
Yeah.
guess we both win. Oh, that's cool. I thought this was going to be the episode where we hashed it out for a long time.
No, because when you're both right, then you're always both right, and there's never disagreements in the end.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Well, cool.
It's extinct, but also still with us.
Well, that's a poetic note to end on. Then we should maybe we should move into the feedback section.
All right.
What do you think? Do you have any more thoughts, or do you want to move on?
No, yeah, let's move in.
Okay, let's do it. We have a live viewer. I'm just gonna let you know that this is the part on the podcast where we normally have music. So on the podcast there will be music. But we just be quiet for a second. All right. So this is the feedback section of the podcast where we talk about our interaction with the community. We had one in particular, I think, that I wanted to talk about. First of all, you put up that hilarious thing about describe your sex life with a video game title.
Oh, should
that
we
was
read
awesome.
some of the best of those?
Yeah, we should.
All right. So I started off. So you take a video game title and you're describing your sex life. So mine was Alone in the Dark. Mama.
Which is awesome. No, this guy. Okay, so we got one of the listeners named Gareth. He said World of Goo.
World of Goo is great.
It's hilarious. Then there's a couple. What are some of the other better ones?
Punch Out kind of made me uncomfortable.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening here? Oh my gosh. Day of Defeat. That was pretty funny. Tim put in Double Dribble.
Yes.
Oh, and the Day of Defeat was Johan. I think he's a Swedish listener. But that was hilarious. Half Minute Hero. Dustin said that, which that's perfect because there's a game called Half Minute Hero. I was like, oh, of course.
You had a couple of good
amazing
ones. Endless Legend and Super Meat Boy.
Yeah, Endless Legend, Super Meat Boy. That got a lot of likes. There was Final Fantasy, which got a lot of likes from Gregory, but I guess it just means you had a really good because how can if you're describing a whole
like
trend?
Well, to me, like it's like Final Fantasy, like it's like it was supposed to be like this one thing and it happened and it was good and then it was so good that it happened again and it keeps happening, but you're always afraid it's gonna be the last time.
Yeah, okay.
It's like, oh, the sex is still good. Oh, it's probably my last time though. It's the Final Fantasy, and then another one comes out.
I'm gonna like that one again. And then Tim put Dungeon Master.
Tommy had the Stick of Truth.
Yeah, which is perfect. Yeah. What's some of the other ones? Goat Simulator. That was Matthew. I actually thought about that one, but I just put in the Super Meat Boy and the Endless Legend. I was like, I don't want to hog it.
There was a Tomb Raider from Jamie Madigan.
Oh, Jamie. Oh man, I didn't realize that was who it was. Yeah, he's the guy who runs Psychology of Games.
Yeah.
He's pretty rad. And Vanessa put in Uncharted. That's funny.
I'm surprised nobody did. Like, my first impulse was Half-Life 3 because it's this game that everyone talks about how great it's going to be, but it's probably never going to happen.
Yeah,
and even if it does happen, there's no way to live up to the hype.
Oh, one of the best ones is from Mark, and I liked it. No one else did, and I think it's because they don't know what the acronym is. It's FTL.
Oh, yeah.
It means faster than light.
Which is not always a good thing, but yes.
Yeah, it was a Mark.
We had some pretty fun responses to that. If you want to see the complete list, check out our Facebook group. Tetris from Jason.
Yeah, just sticking things in holes,
making it fit.
But then it makes me a little terrified because they just disappear after that. They just
only if you hit the G spot.
Oh, okay. Then your what log-shaped Tetris piece disintegrates. Still, I don't know. But yeah, that was pretty hilarious, man. That was a good idea. Yeah. Also, we got some feedback about the salty thing when we were talking about that last time. Remember?
Yes. Apparently, it was started by the Navy, which makes sense. The sea salts.
Yeah, so Sean was saying that, and it makes sense because I was like, oh, is that like salty? When you say an old salty dog, and you're talking about a sailor.
Salty sea dog.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, so yeah, but it's spreading. It's in the gaming community now, which is fun.
And I think that's where it picked up traction enough to make it to the list because that's what the guys who did that award ceremony thing, they referenced it from first-person shooters. They didn't. So, however it originated, it definitely seems to have picked up a lot of traction.
Yeah, I think the people who join the military is 2% of the population or something. So, and Navy's like what? Not even a fifth of the entire defense Department of Defense. So, we're talking about a fraction of people. So, Yeah, I can see why this gamers, what 98% of Americans have played game in the last year, so I can see why
Yeah.
that would pick up
Like the
faster.
other day, one of my high school students was like, "Yeah, I was getting pretty salty about that," and I guarantee he's never been in the Navy, but he is a gamer, so it's definitely grown beyond its origins.
Yeah, okay, but it's good to know where it came from. That was really
Yeah,
interesting.
the
Because I
etymology.
was
I
like,
wonder. I wonder if that's just one of those things where, like, you're in the military, you're into first-person shooters, it starts to spread from there.
maybe, yeah, because when you're on a ship, from what I've heard from some of my friends in the Navy, they'd spend a lot of time just like rocking back and forth, sometimes in their bunk, not rocking back and forth like PTSD, but like you're kind of sailing in the ocean.
Yeah, just the current.
Oh, do you have internet on a battleship?
Yeah,
Or
you have internet on airplanes. Why not battleships?
because it's a military and they suck, or they hate you.
Oh
Not really
well,
suck.
one of our naval listeners will have to tell us if there's internet on the battleships because I've never been on one.
Yeah, we got a few. I think we had like five, I think, if I
Can
remember
you
right.
play Battleship on a battleship?
Would your command be cool with that? Be like, oh, I sunk your battleship! You scream in the middle
Everything
of the night.
goes on high alert.
Yeah, everyone's leaving out. Oh man, I'm sure they've heard that joke before. But
Yeah.
anyway, someone else pointed out the fact that on our last episode we talked about psychology as a game. They were saying you weren't comprehensive in your scope. You missed some stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely didn't go into the whole thing. Calvin pointed out Justin Wong, and like kind of Street Fighter mentality of like psychology. I think part of the reason we didn't go into the Street Fighter level is because we talked a lot about that during our playing to win kind of didn't we have a fighting games episode where we kind of focused on that?
Yeah, we had a guest star, David Sterlin. He was at one point the best Street Fighter game player in the world. He was the top. He was, yeah. And now he designs games, but we had him on, and he talked about that. But on his site, he talks about space a lot too, which Calvin, the guy who pointed this out, the fact that we missed this, yeah, it's all about space and manipulation of that space, and like I love fighting games for that reason. I'm not good at them. I thought I was until the internet came around, and now I'm fucking awful. But yeah, I still enjoy them because I know what they're doing. I watch UFC, so it's kind of the same thing. And if actually that'd be interesting. I wonder how many people who play fighters watch UFC and understand that it's the same principle. Because like I have a martial arts background, and I played fighters. I have a fighting background when I was a kid. I used to play Street Fighter 2 all the time. But to me, it's the same thing. So I wonder if everyone realizes that right away, or if that's just because I had that background. I don't know.
I don't know. But where can people go to read more about that? What's his webpage?
Oh, isn't it Sirlin.net?
Yeah.
SIRLIN.net, or you can just Google "playing to win." He's got a whole thing about that, and it was a cool episode because he talks about a different mindset that you need to have.
Yeah, he talks about Yomi, like reading the other player, like being able to sense what they're about to do. Yeah, check it out. It's Sterling.net. If you're really interested in that kind of thing, that he can go into it way more in depth than we can. It's like that video I posted for the LAN party where I was like, okay, everybody learn this. It was about zoning and spacing in Smash Brothers. Same kind of concept, like controlling. Like there's an area where you're safe. There's an area where you want to keep the other person where you can hit them and they can't hit you. It's all part of that psychology thing. We were mostly just talking about our experiences from the LAN party, just what we picked up from the games we were playing. But yeah, you can definitely apply this to Street Fighter, to Magic the Gathering. Like someone talked about aggressive players will play red, and well, even in our episode, I point out that you would be more of a blue player because you like shutting down their options, which is a control kind of style. So
That's
like,
fair.
it can definitely go into more of a, like, you can apply this to a lot of different genres, not just the games we played at our LAN party.
Yeah, but I liked how Calvin pointed out the fact that, like he said, some personality traits come through stronger than others in play styles, and the fact that something that you and I talked about when we were kids, we were armchair psychologists as youngsters, and I said youngsters. I was trying to be tongue-in-cheek, but I think I'm too old now to be tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, it just sounds authentic now when you say it.
Yeah, it's closed law. You can't tell. Anyway, Google that. I'm not going to go into it. High-pressure scenarios, he said, can also reveal certain ones more easily than others. And that's what we used to say. We had this idea of, before you got into like literature and like started learning like actual shit, we had this idea, the same idea of like, hold a man over a volcano and, that's the day you learn him. Or what is it? How does it?
Yeah, it's from Firefly. They had a made-up Chinese philosopher who said that, like, you truly know the man when you have him hanging over the edge of the volcano. That's when you truly meet him.
But that reflects. Isn't there a true philosopher who was talking about that, like about people at their last moment is when you really know them? I can't remember what that was. Or they're most terrified or something like that. I can't remember. But it's that idea. So I totally agree. As kids, we'd be playing games and everyone's fine, but as soon as like everything gets quiet, we all had different things we did. You know, whenever you get quiet, you're trying to be as crazy as possible. You
Yeah.
realized who was willing to play the cheap character or take the cheap shots, and who was quote unquote above that. You know, it's
Right.
just funny.
It's when you bust out the anything to win when it's that close. Like
Yeah.
we talk about our Smash Brothers games on the N64 where we're just like taking off our watches and pulling off our coats. We're like, oh no, any small thing could ruin us. It's like when I was
Yeah.
telling Tim about the episode, he was listening to it and he was like, I don't always play treacherous, just when I don't have a chance of winning. And I was like, well, yeah, these are the traits we use when we can't win by other means. Like it's not like I always do want to terrify people, but like it's not like we're always going to resort to the most vile and evil tactics. It's just like when everything's on the line and we still want to win, what do we bust out?
Yeah. And honestly, that's my favorite part of the game. He was talking about, like, imagine if you go home and I play Ryu, you play Ryu, and on a home set, same controllers. There's no difference. We all have the same moves. We have the same controller. At that point, it is just that psychological difference. Like, what do you do that I know you do, and how am I going to counter it? And that's the part I love about the UFC. Like, you're like, oh, okay, this guy always leads with his first leg, and then you see his opponent start just like leg kicking like crazy, which takes away power from your jabs. There's a lot of things it does, and I think it's brilliant. I'm like, oh, that was a good fight plan, good job. Or they're gonna try to take you down because they can't do stand up. You practice your takedown defense by stuffing their takedowns or never giving them a double leg takedown kind of thing. So I love that part of it.
That's where it becomes more like a chess match, and it's like, okay, we both have the same pieces. It's all about mind games from here on out.
Yeah, and that's what drove me in StarCraft. I never liked playing just mechanically sound, although you have to play well. I always try to play my opponent, like by saying, okay, so he thinks I'm going to do this, so I'm going to do this. So that's actually my favorite part. That was a good point, though. I think he had a lot of cool things to say. You can go check it out, like I said, on the Facebook page, facebook.com/groups/Game Theory Podcast. Go ahead and join up. You have to request, but everyone auto. You just click yes.
Yeah.
And check out his thoughts on that. He sounds like he knows quite a bit about fighter games. So
for sure.
I thought that was a very interesting contribution. But anyway. Yeah. So, what else? Twitter. Yeah. For some reason we're getting like really popular on Twitter. Like, not really. We don't have a ton of followers, but there'd be like weeks where I would probably get 1 follower a week, 2 followers. But then the past like, I don't know, a week, we got like 7 or something, and then 8, and like every day we seem to get a new person. It's weird. I don't tweet a lot at all, so I don't know what's going on. We also got a ton of downloads, so maybe because we missed an episode, but yeah, everything went kind of skyrocketed.
People are getting caught up.
Yeah. Maybe that's it. I was thinking like, well, maybe one person at some point plugged us. That's kind of a, in diffusion of information, there's these ideas of these people who are kind of plugged into the middle of the huge one. Yeah. And they're called Mavens. And I was wondering I think it's Mavens. Man, my advisor shoot me in the face for not knowing this, but I think it's Mavens. Anyway, and I was wondering, maybe one of them finally like plugged us on Twitter or something, and then all of a sudden, because that would explain the Twitter, and then also I don't know what's going on, but thank you for however it's happening. It's cool.
Yeah.
We're gaining more and more traction, so it's nice. Oh, also, if you guys are non-believers, we're starting a new podcast soon called the God Theory Podcast, and we just talk about non-belief, and I apply my psychological ideas. David applies his background. It's been a lot of fun recording it. We haven't released it yet, but I did make the Twitter. It's twitter.com/GodTheoryPod, obviously. And I made a YouTube page as well, so you can go check that out, because we're going to be doing live content like we do now. I mean, not live, but video content like we do now for this. So yeah, check it out. If you don't want to hear that stuff, perfectly fine. Just keep tuning in here. It's just another one of our interests.
Just another thing we're interested in. So check us out and leave us reviews. iTunes, Stitcher, whatever you're listening to us on. Reviews are how we get more traction and more listeners, which gives us more substance to talk about because we have more interactions, which is kind of the whole thing we get out of this deal, is interactions with the fans. So we're not charging you money, but we will charge you the price of admission, being rate us on iTunes and tell a friend.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. We just really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we're gonna cut you off. We'll find a way. There's a setting somewhere on iTunes where if you haven't reviewed us, you'll stop seeing the show up in your feed, and then you'll be like, I should have paid my dues. Should have paid my dues.
That's right. But
No, yeah, we
yeah, we
can't
really
do
appreciate
that.
it.
We
Um,
that's not a thing.
did we get any iTunes reviews? I forgot to check.
No, zero. That's why I'm throwing down the ultimatum.
Oh, yeah, it's time. Yeah, good point. But cool. Yeah, or you can yeah, just leave a comment on one of the YouTube things that we do now. We're doing video on every episode now, so that someday we're gonna stream it, and we're starting to get the wheels rolling. We've been Luddites for so long that it's about time we have more of a presence, because growing far too big to be a little podcast anymore.
Right.
So, looking forward to it, man. Thanks for everyone for listening, telling your friends. We really appreciate it. Things kind of taking off, so yeah, thanks. So until next time, I guess we have an awkward sign off. I think I'm gonna make a roast.